Report. My name is Greg Norman, your host. We're back for week 2 with Griffin Makrovich, all the way in East Lansing. We're getting a chance to talk about big football victory. We're going to talk to you a little bit about soccer, swimming, and a whole bunch of stuff going on within the Blackhawk community. And I think we start in the easiest part. First of all, welcome back for the second week. We really appreciated all the work you did the first week. So
thanks for having me, Greg.
We're trying to give people the insight, a little bit different insight to what goes on inside the Blackhawk athletic program. We're going to bring you this every week. And as we get through the season, as we're just starting this, hopefully we get, as we did today, an interview with one of the senior cross-country guys who had just a terrific race in the Lansing area. When you talk to him, and we're going to bring him with you in a couple of seconds. But I want to start in the easiest place. 62-0. The Blackhawks beat up on Flint North Southwestern. And as I mentioned to a couple of people yesterday, it's not the program that the great Rick Leach and Gene Johnson brought back from the 1970s. The only reason I mentioned Ricky Leach, Michigan played on television on Saturday night, and the Underwood quarterback who started as a freshman, they mentioned Ricky Leach because he was the first starting freshman in history of the Michigan program back in 1974. 62-0. Any thoughts?
Oh, man. I mean, football in Brandon has always been a big deal. We have one of the best football fields out of any high school in our program, Flint Metro League. And we've always beaten these teams. We're always coming out on top. I'm not surprised that Brad Zub is coming out with another great team. I just think that I'm just wondering what's going on with the other teams this year. You know, what's going on with our competition? What was our record last year? Do you know, for football?
6-3.
6-3, yeah. So, I mean, it's not unexpected for these guys.
When you put up 62 on a team that probably can't defend itself, and I would say that would be the case because it was 56-0 at the half. So it makes a short second half. Yeah, a bunch of guys get to play, and it's nice to have that for the home crowd. But you played a state champion in Goodrich in a couple of weeks, and you get the idea in your brain that, wow, 62-0, we're a pretty good football team. That might come back to haunt them a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe they won't play as hard next time. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, you had a chance to talk to Jacob Hilton, and he's a cross-country runner, and talk to me a little bit about that. I thought it was really cool. We're going to bring him up later in the show.
That's right, yeah. So Jacob just ran a PR of 16 minutes and 32 seconds at last week's 5K race at the St. John's Under the Lights event. And that's a 5.5-minute mile pace. You know, I talked to Jacob we got into how he prepares for these races, how he's managed to get his time down that low. And he told me that he's confident that in tomorrow's upcoming meet, he's going to break the record for the school record. It's standing right now at 16 minutes, 11 seconds for the 5K, and he's confident that he can beat that. We also talked a little bit about some colleges that are looking at him right now. But, I mean, you know, he's only in his senior year, only beginning. He's got some time to develop and talk to a few more colleges. So I don't think the answer that he gave me will be his final decision.
I do know in the interview he talked a little bit about Northwood, and they've got a very good cross-country and track program up there. So it's an interesting spot. You know, you're talking about a PR. If you have a 5.5-mile course in Brandon, and you've got a 5.5-mile course in Clarkston, one is hilly and one's in the other isn't. Is the PR in this case is the team record? Does it change because of where you're running? At least on
That's a good question.
Football field, basketball, court, anything else, they're all the same size. That's certainly not true in a cross country meet because you've got such differing topography.
That's right. I talked to Coach Diner, and he said that every race, his team has to look at the course beforehand and kind of get an understanding, an idea of what they're getting into, especially the weather. That's a big factor into all this. So maybe all the stars align for Jacob that one meet, or maybe the next meet's going to be even an easier course. I didn't really talk to him about the topography of each of these courses, but I'd love to get into a conversation with Coach Diner for next week's meet, and we'll see what that's going on.
Yeah. You also talked to the swimming coach, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah, I talked to Coach Ryan Drogemuller. They actually won their first meet against Davison last Tuesday. The girls did a great job. We got into a conversation about some of their star athletes there that our cameraman should take a closer look at. He also said that our Brandon Swimming's strongest asset is our 200-meter relay. So we're doing really well on those group events there at the swim meet. The Blackhawks are taking on Owasso next Thursday, and Coach Drogemuller did say that he is pretty worried about their swim program, that Owasso does have a pretty good swim team. So we'll talk to him soon and see how they do.
Just beating a team like Davison in a non-league matchup, that's got to be a huge upside for the Blackhawks.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, we've got a small program when you take a look at these other teams in the Flint Metro League. Drogemuller is trying to get some more feeder programs into the middle school and, even elementary programs, but we'll see what's going on in the next 5 years for that team. We're doing well right now, but we are still low in numbers, especially for the girls team.
And the last thing I want to mention is the great opportunity for the Blackhawks. Brad Zuby is going to leave here sometime Friday afternoon and take some buses and a bunch of kids up to Central Michigan University. Jesse Johnson, the athletic director, who's a former coach at Central Michigan, pulled some strings to get the Blackhawks the opportunity to play at Kelly Short Stadium, which is the home field for the Chippewas. They're going to be playing on a college field, and a really good one. It's always fun to play in those kind of stadiums. And we'll see what happens. They're going to play a perennial Division V playoff team in Clare. So after their 62-0 rout, this is going to be a little bit of a test because then they got to come home and play on the road at Goodrich. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But you're only out of high school a few years. The opportunity to play at a Michigan State or a Central Michigan, that's even in my day, that was a big deal. I got to assume it's still a thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't get that opportunity for sure when I was in high school. We didn't have the funds for that or the strings to pull necessarily. But I remember recently you sent me out to Little Caesars Arena to cover our high school basketball team playing in Little Caesars Arena. That was so cool to see them play at an NBA stadium. So it's got to be exhilarating for these kids to be able to get that chance to play on that large of a field.
We still try for my lacrosse team to get up and play at Atwood and play powers at Atwood. I'd rather play at Atwood just so the kids get to see what it was like to know. Atwood is an old 1927 minor league baseball field, and they still use it for all kinds of stuff up in Flint. And there was a whole bunch of facilities like that around Michigan built, but it's a little different venue than seeing the regular kind of football field. If you go over to Port Huron, and this is kind of a sidebar, a number of stadiums were built in the 1930s, and they have no tracks around them, and the cement stands come right down to the field. And there's just such an intimate feeling, unlike most high school fields, which all look the same. But I think the Blackhawks should do pretty well up at Clare, and hopefully they'll have a great week this coming Friday. And what have we got coming up from you for next week?
We'll be talking to the tennis team, seeing how they did in their first 2 meets. We'll be talking to cross country, seeing how they do tomorrow. We'll see if Jacob did actually beat that record like he's talking about to me in his text messages. We'll also be talking to the volleyball team. We haven't talked to Coach Miniger in a while, so we'll see how their team is doing. And yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate you coming back, and we'll have this conversation next week. And for all the folks in Blackhawk country, go Blackhawks.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Welcome back. We're talking week 2, Brad Zuby. A 62-0 win with something in the neighborhood of 350 offensive yards total. Great defensive scheme, but all I can think of is 350 and 62 points. Your offense was as efficient as any coach could ever expect to be. And congratulations on the first win. And talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was a good opener. We were breaking in a new quarterback for the first time in 4 years, and half the offensive line was new and some different guys in different spots on both sides of the ball. So it was a good game for those guys to get some game action. Like you said, efficient. We had some short field drives. Our opponents, we forced 5 turnovers between special teams and defense. So we ended up with some short fields, but it's one of those games where the entire team played. Everybody that dressed got a lot of reps, not just a couple here or there at the end. We had 14 different kids touch the football, which is always fun, to get that many people involved in the game plan and run it that deep. So 1-0 is better than 0-1, and we're on to week 2.
Obviously, if you watch the game film, and there's going to be some film coming up here in a couple seconds to give you some ideas. I'm not sure Southwestern was ready for that first game. If you watch the film, they weren't in school. I don't think they had more than 22, 23 kids dressed.
I think that's where they were at. Yeah.
But here's my question: when you play a team like that and have such dominance at home to open, it's great to have everybody touch the ball. Do you worry that the competitive angle and the competitive aspect of that game hurts you in the next game or the next couple of games because maybe they don't take it as seriously?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think every once in a while you're going to have a game that comes up like that, and it's one of those things you just got to preach about and during practice and make sure they're mentally prepared. And we talked about what we're going to get next week. Team's going to punch back, and we scrimmaged a really physical Holly team on purpose. That's a game that's not on our schedule anymore. So Billy Keenest and I get the teams together during the summer, and we'll scrimmage. And that was a good violent scrimmage last week. We had to kind of prep them for teams are going to push back a little bit. So, we'll be ready for week 2. But yes, they got to know it's going to be, a lot more difficult moving forward. And we've got a stretch here where we go Claire, who's a Division 5, perennial playoff team. Then we go right into Goodrich, and then we have Corunna and Lake Fenton. So we've got a nice little burst here in the front part of the season to prep for.
Okay, talk briefly what you were happy with on offense, defense. Let's start with the offense. What you were happy with? Is there anything that looks out to you that you got to work on this week?
Yeah, I mean, I just little things, little tweaking things here and there, but for the most part, it wasn't a huge sample size. But yeah, we liked what we saw up front. And it's kind of, it's just a progression from your practice film to your scrimmage to your first game, and just marked improvements in certain spots and certain guys that they were coaching up that are new to our scheme or in a different position on both sides of the ball. But yeah, we were happy with it for sure, and just got to get better.
After that first game against Southwestern, was anything that sort of privately made you smile? Was there one kid that stuck out? Was there one?
We got a sophomore linebacker who's starting this year, making his first varsity start, Ben Sobek, and he played a lot of defensive line last week versus linebacker, depending on what front we use. And he was he was a wrecking ball just in the backfield and making plays. And next to him, our defensive end, Darren Lininger, who's a returning, all-league defensive end. The linebackers were complaining at halftime because Ben and Darren had so many tackles. The linebackers didn't get to touch anybody in the whole first half. So it's nice to see a young kid like that step up and make some plays and playing next to a senior leader and feeding off each other a little bit. It was fun to see.
We've both been on the ends of 62-0 wins, and we've also been on the other ends of 62-0 losses.
Yeah, how they feel on both ends. Yep.
The win is a lot better than the loss.
Yes. So,
do you coach harder? You're up 56-0 in the second quarter. Do you coach harder that second half than you might normally do, just to make sure the kids understand?
Yeah, and it's just like, at halftime, you don't go in and celebrate at halftime. We wanted to talk about discipline at halftime. Hey, we've got a big game next week. If things get chippy in the second half, stuff like that. And just reminding the guys about, sportsmanship and, the team from Flint, those kids are working hard. They're fighting all kinds of battles, and they're getting to practice and making it work and putting a team on the. We have no reason to, ever show up an opponent. We just want to play with our shoulder pads and let our pads do the talking. So just reminding the kids about life lessons and discipline and doing things the right way to get through 4 quarters sometimes.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't stop coaching though when you get the backups in. They got to make sure they're doing the right thing on assignments and execution, and so that you can always coach through things.
All right, 1-0 at the end of the first week. We'll shut that door. We'll open up another door. You headed about mid-afternoon on Friday all the way to Central Michigan.
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant, get a chance to play in a college facility. I'm guessing, knowing Central Michigan, there's probably going to be more people watching the high school game on Friday than have been in the Central Stadium in fairly shorts in a while. They don't get big crowds there, with the exception of maybe Western Michigan. But you get a chance to play in a great venue. And how did that come about? And you're playing Claire, which is a pretty good football team.
Yeah, hopefully we get a big crowd. Hopefully we have some Brandon alumni that are CMU students now that, jump in and bring some friends with them. And I think that area up there, that Mount Pleasant area is a fun area for football around that, draw a circle around Claire, Mount Pleasant, Alamo, that whole area. Hopefully people on that side of town will want to come see some high school action. And, hopefully we get a good crowd. Hopefully the folks from Brandon make a nice trip up there. But how it came about, our athletic director, Jesse Johnson, he's a big football guy. He coached football at Central Michigan. He was also their university's recruiting coordinator. So, Jesse had a lot of contacts at Central Michigan, and he lobbed a couple of phone calls, and we talked about parameters and costs, and it all made sense. And then the second thing was, okay, let's find an opponent. So let's find somebody up there who's close in, as far as division play goes, and a good team to play week 2. and the Pioneers from Clare were excited to take us on. And they're, like I said, they're a Division 5 team that is a perennial playoff contender. They have a lot of success up there. They are well coached. So we're looking forward to a fun week 2 game to prep us for league play and start getting after it a little bit.
So this is a home game for you.
I think it's a home game for Clare. I think technically it's a home game for Clare. Either way, it's a neutral site, right? We are in white, though, so I think it's their home game. But either way, it's going to be fun.
Okay. Anything about Clare that we need to know? What do they run? What kind of offense? What kind of defense?
Yeah, so they're a single back, like a wide set. They got 2 receivers out to each side. They run a lot of option. They run a lot of counter. They trap a lot. Nice enough passing game to keep you on your toes and mix things up. Like I said, they're very well coached technique wise. Their quarterback and their running back ran really well last week against Grayling. They won their opener 39-21 over Grayling. And I think it was 39-7 at one point. Grayling scored a couple at the end. So they had a nice week 1 win as well. Defensively, they're a 4-3. They got a couple of big safeties that like to mix it up and get after it. So really personnel-wise, we both got about between 25 and 30 kids, it looks like, dressed up and ready to play. Size-wise, we're pretty similar. So it should be a fun football game.
And just out of curiosity, they play in what league? What conference?
Gosh, I can't off the top of my head. I know they're a Division 5 school. Like they're in a conference with Gladwin, who was a state champion a couple years ago, Ogama Heights. So there's some good football in their division. My
2 favorite logos in the entire state are the Ishpeming Hematites.
Okay.
It's because it's that ice stalactite you see in a
With
the Gladwin Flying G's. I've never seen
Flying G's. Yes.
I've never seen a Flying G, but it's a great nickname. And it looks a little bit like the Central with the speed marks on it for the Chippewa. So it's kind of kind of similar from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Right.
But the whole college venue atmosphere should be fun. We took our team to the Big House back in, I think, what was that, 2017? We played at Atwood Stadium in 2018. So we haven't had one of these trips in a while. So this will be fun for the kids and a cool experience.
If you win, you can always work your way back. You stop at the casino right there, just outside of town. And have some fun.
I know we booked. I think we booked a block of rooms there. So some of the families are going to spend the night up in Mount Pleasant and enjoy the area. And who's ever not's riding the bus home with me.
Well, listen, I appreciate the time. We'll have somebody up there looking at the game, and we'll have another conversation on Sunday night for next week. And good luck in at Central Michigan.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Appreciate it, man. Go Blackhawks.
Military families often sacrifice precious time away from loved ones while serving our country.
We were worried that with him leaving, that she would lose those connections with her dad.
Some of life's best moments happen between parents, children, and the pages of a good book. United Through Reading provides that connection. And now, United Through Reading is also available to veterans. Learn more about United Through Reading at unitedthroughreading.org.
We're joined today by Jacob Hilton, a senior cross-country runner at Brandon High School, who just recently at the St. John's Under the Lights event ran a 16-minute, 32-second 5K. Jacob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, man. Well, I'm just talking to you today because you had a stellar performance at last meet, last Thursday. You beat even the bigger schools that showed up, even faster time than them. You actually ran a 5.5-minute mile pace during your 5K. How'd you do it? I mean, describe that to me.
Well, I did at practice the week before, just pacing myself, getting used to that time. We did 8x800 at that exact pace. So I was just getting prepared for that. And I stuck with the first guy and he paced me to it.
And this is a PR for you. Are you usually running times like this? Are you usually one of the front runners for the school? I know your coach, Wes Diner, told me that you are one of the better performers.
Yeah. Last year I was the front runner, but I couldn't kind of keep up with them, so I dropped back. But this year is a lot different. So yeah.
Are you considering maybe running in college for cross country or track?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Is anyone looking at you right now, or is it kind of
Yeah,
too
a few
early to decide?
colleges. Yeah. Few
Is there
colleges.
anyone, I don't want to make you say a name or maybe ruin your chances with one or the other, but is there anyone you're really maybe looking at right now that you'd like to attend? I know you're still just in your senior year.
Yeah, I'm looking at Northwood right now. They're a pretty good option, and a few others I'm looking at.
That's awesome. And what event you got coming up next? Are you looking forward to running again?
We have our first league meet, and Linden, yeah, on Wednesday. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
good luck with that, Jacob. And thank you so much for joining us, dude. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you again.
yeah. Thank you.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how sketch is ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes. Look at that. You didn't even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you got to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Hello and welcome back to the Blackhawk Report. I'm Griffin Makrovich, joined here once again by Ryan Drogemuller, the head coach of the Brandon swimming team. Good morning, Ryan. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Doing really good this week.
That's good. You guys just had your first meet last Tuesday, am I correct?
Yeah, we had a first meet on Tuesday, and we had a relay meet last night.
And how'd that first meet go on Tuesday?
The first meet went really well. It was versus Davison, and the girls got their first win of the season. So that was kind of exciting. Nice little cherry on top for a non-league contest. And then last night they won their relay meet too, winning 7 of their 11 events. Well, Tuesday, one of the big stats was a couple of our freshies. Natalie Chapa really stepped up, having to do the 200 IM and 100 fly, and she hadn't done those before, and she did really well. Where a lot of other kids would have been a little deer in the headlights, she was ready to go. And then and Madison Smits also helped out being our third diver at that meet. So that was really, really big for days.
And how many teams competed in this meet?
For the relay meet, it was 4 teams. 4 teams. It was ourselves, Kersley, Lapeer, and Swartz Creek.
Are you guys looking to play them in the upcoming meets, or is it going to change around?
We will see Swartz Creek and Kersley later in the year. Swartz Creek's I think is at the end of the year for senior night, and Kersley somewhere in the middle. We'll go over to Kersley for that one. So.
Anybody we should be looking out for in the next meets? Any particular swimmers you think our camera crew should hone in on?
Got a couple. I mean, right now the big ones are based off the last 2 days have been our 200 medley relay and our 200 free relay. They're doing really well as swimming as a group there. Morgan Fletcher and Claire Whittick are doing really well time wise. They're close to their best times last year. They each won a race on Tuesday. But our 50 freestylers, Jesse Cullen, Brooklyn Jordan, Grace Maston, and Abby Alexander have been doing really well as well. Ruby Burton had a really big day on Tuesday with the 50 fly on the relay and the 50 free. So
that's awesome to hear that we're doing so well. And when can we expect you guys to swim again? What's going on next week?
So next week we're away. We're going to Owasso. That'll be a challenging matchup. They have a lot of talented swimmers on there, so it'll be a nice test for a lot of the kids that had some confidence boost this week. So,
well, all right. Thank you so much, Ryan, and we hope you can join us for next week's Blackhawk Report.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.